Hey Dale, can you hear me?
Yes, hi, Jeremy.
Hey buddy, how are you?
It's so nice to meet you. You came well. You came well recommended by Mandy Robson Johnny. So,
Yes,
yeah,
man.
how do you know her? Because you guys trade different stuff.
We do, and on entirely different parts of the world.
Yeah, yeah.
Are you in Australia also, Dale?
No, I'm in Australia in the U.S., which is California.
Okay, I got
All
you.
right. So, Jeremy, there is a screen share option
Sure.
for you to share your screen, and that way you'll be able to show your website later, and maybe there are a few instruments you want to show on your desktop or laptop.
Sure, I can definitely share my screen. Give me 1 second. Well, 5 seconds. Let's see if that works.
There we go.
Okay. Which one are you? Are you seeing my charting software?
Accreditation from Real Life Trading LLC.
Gotcha. Okay, that's something else. Let me see how I can select my screen. Or I can just move this over here. Either one will work.
Okay.
All right.
All right. So Jeremy, I told everyone you're a high energy guy, and I never even heard you talk. I could just tell by your tweet that you're amped up all the time. So, it's great for an old timer like me to hear the passion in younger traders. I could barely remember what it was like, but I do remember. So, yeah, why don't you tell us about your beginnings, Jeremy? How you got into the business? You're both a trader and a mentor. You teach and trade. So, how did it start for you?
Yeah, and I truly also want to say thank you so much for taking the time out of your schedule and for reaching out to me, Dale. It's I appreciate it tremendously.
Oh, you're so welcome.
Yeah, thank you so much. As far as for my background and getting started, it actually started with a movie when I was 7 years old. So I grew up in a small town in Georgia called Cleto, which no one's ever heard of. It's
okay.
About an hour west of Savannah. And I grew up in the deep South. So I was watching when I was watching a movie called Forrest Gump with my dad.
All right.
Yeah.
Great.
And
yeah.
As you know, towards the end of the movie, right? So Forrest Gump went to the mailbox and he pulled out a letter and he said Lieutenant Dan had invested in a fruit company and they didn't have to worry about money anymore. And I was like, that's such a cool story. I asked my dad, like, what is a fruit company? What is investing? And so he told me a little bit about the stock market. He told me a little bit about what investing is. And for some reason, just that explanation and the fact that Forrest Gump got fabulously wealth investing in this company, obviously the company was Apple. I pretty much begged my dad for the next 5 to 6 months to buy some shares of Apple. So this was back in 1996.
Wow.
1995. Yeah, so Apple was around $1 a share at that time.
Yeah. Where did it go to at the high in 2000? I don't remember. Before the bubble popped.
Right. So that's the funny part is that's right about the time I sold it. It went to about $4.50.
Oh, okay, a quad.
And yeah, exactly. It was a 4X.
Yeah, a few people would like Apple at $4 right now. Let's hope they never have a chance to do it because the implications of the world that we would be living in wouldn't be too rosy.
Agreed.
But, okay, so wow, from you weren't even in high school. I mean, I've talked to people who started to trade in high school and college in their dorms, but as a kid, you wanted to retire before you even knew you were going to have to work.
Something to do with that, just the whole Forrest Gump story and him growing up from a small city and being a little weird, because I was always a little weird as a kid. And it just kind of clicked with me, Dale. And I just thought this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. I want to be involved somehow in stocks and investing. I didn't really know how. So, I mean, I did end up going to school for a finance degree because that's what they teach in college, as you know, is how to invest in the stock market and how trading works and how to properly and safely invest.
Did they really? I know they have econ courses, Jeremy, but did they really have courses that talked about trading and taught you how to trade? That would be a fairly new development.
Not at all. Not even close.
Okay. All right.
I'm a Florida Gator, and so I graduated in '09, but I didn't have. Yeah, I mean, I went through the whole college experience, the whole college thing, but learned absolutely nothing about trading or the stock market. The most that they talked about the market was we had one class, and I think it was economics, managerial economics or something like that, where they discussed beta and what beta means for the market. And then you know, one finance class, they learned about coupon yield rates and bonds, you know, really exciting, 2% interest over 20 years.
So where do you buy and sell things? So I know after college you probably went on a searching journey to learn how to trade, and you knew you couldn't do it just with trying to figure out fundamentals, that you had no timing tool. Who influenced you, and why did you gravitate towards options rather than other instruments or asset classes?
Great question. So I initially was turned on to the markets and just kind of was given some insight and instruction by a supervisor of mine at a company I used to work at. So I was about 18 and a half, 19. We were talking about 401ks and how to set it up because I just started working for this company. And he told me, his name was Rob Gwynn. He's still a good friend of mine.
Oh, great last name.
Yeah, that's right. He told me that he traded one stock and one stock only, and at the time it was QQQQ, so they had 4 Qs.
Okay.
And he said that he made more money every month trading this thing than he made all year at work. And I asked him why he still worked, and he told me that, hey, it's always good to have multiple streams of income and so on and so forth. And he told me about covered calls and discussed, you know, I'm sure you've heard of Wade Cook.
Oh yeah.
And just told me about how covered calls work and how you can rent out your stock and just how the whole process and procedure plays out. And man, that was amazingly I've never heard of that before, never heard of covered calls, had no clue they existed, thought it was phenomenal. And I actually was able to do those through my 401k, a self-directed 401k. So I think that my 401k was a Charles Schwab at the time. So I was about 19 and a half and started doing covered calls on silver stocks. So he was one of the few, or he was really the first person that introduced me to the whole process. And then from there, man, I just went down that deep, dark YouTube internet rabbit hole of trading companies and education companies and programs and products and books, and just purchased and read and studied as much as I could to learn, you know, various.
So tell us about your discernment skills, because one of my purposes is to educate people not to be or fall prey to hype, like, you know, 1,000% returns or buy this, it's the secret of trading. How did you discern from the junk to the stuff that was good? And did you have to go through the junk to find it?
I was about to say, who told you that I discerned those things?
Yeah, okay. Right, all right. See, and did any of it hurt you?
Yeah, so I did when I was about 20, late 21, I believe, 20, 21, somewhere around there. I had convinced my dad to let me trade some of his money because I had made pretty decent returns on my 401k. It was a very small amount of money. I think I took like $3,000 and turned it into $5,000 or something, trading stocks and doing covered calls. And then I asked him to borrow his money, and he said sure, you know, because he didn't have to pay for me to go to college. I had a scholarship, so he didn't have to do that. And I never told you the ending of the story of Apple, but when we bought it at $1 and sold it at $4, I took, you know, $3,000. I put in $1,500 and he put in $1,500, and so we quadrupled that. And he, you know, told me that would never happen again, so on and so forth. And so, as you know, when I was 20, Apple was like whatever, $100 a share. And so I told him, I was like, hey, Dad, I can pick winners. You know, I kind of used the guilt trip, and he eventually let me borrow $103,716 from his retirement to trade with. And I traded successfully for 3 months. And then I did actually learn about options. I said, if I can trade and make 36% return over 3 months with just stocks and doing covered calls, imagine how much money I can just make with options. So I had learned about buying directional calls and puts, and so I started doing out of the money weekly calls and puts, and within a few months I had lost every single penny of that $103,000.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
that was sucky.
Yeah. Yeah. So let me ask you this: besides the result, did it affect your relationship with your father? Because I tell people that be careful about trading your friends or your relatives, because to me, the relationship is more important. And
you were so correct.
Things like that can happen. Yeah. So go ahead. What happened between you and your dad? I mean, let's get real here.
Sure.
That's a pretty big hit. That was his retirement.
Yeah.
What happened?
So you're the first person that's ever asked me, and I appreciate you asking, because there was a lot of tension initially, and I remember the time I called him. I was in Daytona Beach, and I had just drank 2 pitchers of beer because it was like $6 pitcher night or something. So I had 2 of them because I was legally able to drink it this time.
Daytona is pretty cool.
Yeah, so I need to get that courage to call him. So I called him and just started crying and told him that I lost all his money. And he very calmly and politely said, "Well, I didn't have to pay for you to go to college, so I'll factor that in as your college tuition, and I'm sure you'll get it back for me one day." Wow. And that was it. Because he
boy, are you blessed.
I really was, man. I truly was, because he was.
That's a great story. I would tell people about it, because trading is what we do. It's not who we are. And what a great story, because a lot of fathers or friends could have taken it much differently. So you know what? Your dad loved you more than money. So we've talked about some of the hurdles and things you've gone through, and I'm showing your website now. So why don't we talk about what you do and markets that you trade. If you want the screen, you could take it over. I wasn't seeing anything up there, so I put your website up.
No, this is fine. Yeah, thank you for doing it.
So, maybe you could tell us about how you screen for things. If we could see your setup, it'd be great. It's not essential, but tell us about your style and the things that you teach people that come to you.
Sure, and I can definitely, I'll definitely be able to show you my setup, because the market here opens in 15 minutes, so I'll be able to give you an idea of what I look for. But yeah, so I'm sure everyone's heard of Online Trading Academy, OTA, and
supply demand for 40 grand.
Yeah, exactly, and that's which is, again, I'm okay with anyone making money off of business. That's fine. I get it. They have a certain clientele. What I wanted to do is I did go through one of their programs back in the day, and when I saw the price tag, obviously I didn't buy it, but I've always had that inkling in the back of my mind that there are people out there who want to learn how to do this, and it's very expensive to go through certain programs, and there's certain people that have financial barriers. And I thought to myself, I don't want the financial barrier to be an excuse for people not to learn how to properly and safely invest in the stock market, because that is something that I had always wanted to learn.
What a great mission. So you make it,
yeah.
So you're saying that your service is affordable to even people that may only have a couple grand.
It's as affordable as it gets. Yeah, it doesn't cost you anything, actually. It's entirely free. So I just took all of my knowledge and I just made it 100% free. That doesn't cost one single penny for any of it. And so that way that I can.
Even premium up here?
So the premium is that's actually the trading rooms that I have open. So I'll teach people how to trade, and if they want to actually trade with me or some of my staff, then they hop into the trading rooms and we can trade for free. But if they can trade real money. But if they don't want to trade, they want to learn on themselves. If they want to trade by themselves, they can do it for free.
Okay, so this is your subscription model here.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yep.
Got it.
Exactly.
All right.
But that was yeah. So I trade stocks, I trade options, and I trade cryptocurrencies. I do not trade futures. I've never traded forex. I understand how, but it's just one of those things where you have to pick a profession at some point. You know, if just like if you're going to be a baseball player, you know, you're not going to be a baseball player and a basketball player and a football player. It's going to be very difficult to specialize in all three sports. So
yeah, Bo Jackson did it in 2, and that was amazing.
Exactly, and he's one of the few. I mean, you have Deion Sanders, right? Who attempted it.
Besides football.
Yeah. So you have so Michael Jordan did 2, Deion Sanders did 2, and Bo Jackson did 2, and those were really it. Everyone else kind of, you know, and they weren't great at it by any means. So
well, I do too. I conduct interviews, and I'm a guest on interviews.
I love it. I love it. Well, there you go. So I mean, you have to have those 2 approaches. And
I said I'm bi-microphonian. So, so Jeremy, are you trading options on stocks or just the issues? Because there are no options on crypto yet. So you're
correct.
Pretty much like a futures trader in crypto. I'm interested because the volatility is pretty wild. You know, what, 10% a day is no big deal. How do you manage risk in crypto?
So the way I manage risk is let me show you. So okay. Let me do.
A picture speaks 1,000 words, bro.
Exactly. Let me get my screen sharing turned on. Tell me if you're able to see. I think it's my webcam popping up now. What's going on?
Webcam up. I see you.
All right. Are you? Let me see what screen. So
you live in a city where you hear a lot of great music. Is it better in Nashville than Memphis?
Yes. Oh yeah. Nashville is the place, my man.
All right.
It is the place to go. I'm still trying to figure out exactly. I apologize. So this is my webcam. I got my webcam up here.
Yeah. So there's a drop menu on top where it'll say, you know, screen to share your screen. I'm going to make you the presenter again, and let's try it, see if it pops up for you. Okay, hold on. Now tell me if you see something.
Perfect. Yes.
Okay.
That is the one, my brother. That's what I needed. I like it.
All right, got it. We're looking at Bitcoin here.
Yeah. So what I was going to do is just kind of discuss how I personally mitigate my risk with cryptos, and you know, might as well talk about the big granddaddy of them all, Bitcoin. And my mathematical, it's a mathematical approach. It's a formula, one that was introduced by Dr. Van Tharp, and it's just the R method. So the approach is you have a certain portfolio size, whatever that portfolio size is. It doesn't really matter. Let's just say it's $1,000. And that portfolio size, that's how much money you have to invest. But from there, what you're going to do, and this formula works on any instrument, by the way. Okay. It doesn't matter if it's options or stocks or whatever it is.
I love that.
Yes, and you take a percentage of that account, whatever it might be, 1 to 5%. Most people are very comfortable with 1 to 2%. Is usually a good starting range. You know, the bigger the.
So you use a money stop rather than a market stop.
Correct. Yep.
Got it. Okay.
And so I use this percentage to determine pretty closely how many units of whatever it is that I'm going to buy. So let's say, for example, I do 2% of $1,000, which obviously not a large amount of money by any means, but let's say it's $20, right?
Yeah.
So 2% of $1,000 is $20. So in this example on Bitcoin, if I wanted to get in Bitcoin, so you have a little bit of a morning star reversal, something like this. So this will be my stop.
You know candles too. You know, I
yes, sir.
Do you know Elliott?
Elliott Wave?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. Do you know harmonics?
Yep.
I think you know everything. Anyway, you know, I figured with your kind of passion, you want to know everything. Okay, so you know, I think that's great that you have a background in more than one methodology. Let me ask you this, since
Sure.
you do you look for confluence between different methods to give you more conviction about a position?
That's a very good question. I do. Yeah, I do like Elliott Wave a lot. I like fibs for targeting and Fibonacci. I'm very familiar with harmonics. You know, I don't personally use them that much. The Gartley, the BAT, ABC pattern, XABCD patterns. I go pretty surface because what I tell people is I unfortunately went down the route that I thought I had to know everything in order to trade successfully. So I just happened to learn it all. But the most important thing that I would say without a doubt is candlesticks. That is the language of money, right? If you want, just like if you're practicing learning any new language.
Too. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. You've got to learn how to read it, right? If you want to learn to read a new language, you got to learn to read that language. And that's what candlesticks are. Candlesticks are the language of the stock market. So you have to learn how to read it. These are letters. Each one of these is a letter almost. And if you can understand what that letter means, you can start spelling the sentence to determine where you should get in and where you should get out.
So it gives you a narrative.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep. You're 100% correct. So if I go back to this really quick example on Bitcoin, and what I want to do, Dale, is I'm going to take the difference between these two numbers. So this is my entry, and the reason I chose this price is because it's right above that bearish candle right there, and my stop is just right below these candlestick wicks. And if I take the difference between these two numbers, which again, this is a large difference in Bitcoin, but again, this will work with any instrument. If I take 10,601.06 and I subtract 9,249.82, I'm going to come up with a number, and that number is called the stop value, and that stop value, or SV, is 1351.24. So that's the difference between the entry and the stop. And then what I can do from there is my original risk was $20. So if I take $20 and actually divide, so you take your risk or your R and you divide it by your SV or your stop value, it's 1351.24, and you're going to get actually how many units of Bitcoin that you can buy here, which is 0.0148. So that's how many units of Bitcoin that you could buy, and my risk on that trade, Dale, would only be $20.
Okay. All right. So that's your, oh, that's excellent how you were able to break that down. And okay, so we covered risk management. I'm guessing, because you said it earlier, so it's not a guess, that you use fib for objectives and targets. Like, where would be the target? I mean, to me, it looks like, you know, classically some type of flag formation. And if we break out, it looks like it could really go. What are your two moving averages? You use 100 and 200, I see.
So these on right here, the 100 and 200 simple. Very, very normal. I don't, that's the thing, is I don't really do anything extraordinarily weird or different. I just make.
What would be your target on the trade? The moving average, the 200 up there, or the 100?
Great question. So the one I just set up, so if I had an entry here and a stop here, these lines, this would be what would be referred to as 1R, or one risk unit. My target on that, you're absolutely correct, would be preferably 2 Rs, or 2 times the risk unit, which would get very, very close to this 100 simple moving average. Yep.
Okay, so even your objectives, just like your stops, are money-based rather than market-based, at least initially. You know, how much you could risk is, you know, although you're using that level as your stop once you're in, and then you're shooting for something like a 2-to-1 risk reward ratio.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. And so that's based on strictly numbers, not a technical area, isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah. So the cool part about trading is it really is very math oriented. A lot of people kind of forget that, but there is one math formula, and I'm okay at math. I can do multiplication and subtraction things. If I've done this math formula millions of times over, and it always works. If you lose less money than you make, you will be profitable. Right. So it's all about the risk. It's all about risk. A lot of people approach the market to figure out how much money they can make. The problem is you cannot make enough money to outrun how much you lose if you lose all of it.
Exactly.
Right? So you could lose $1 billion in 1 hour in the market. It's irrelevant. You can lose as much money as you have can be lost in the markets. There's no end to how much money you can lose. So there's no end to how much money you can lose. There's no end to how much money you can make. Just control the one variable of how much you can lose, and you should make more than you lose.
Yeah, you're a pro.
Yep. So that's all I care about, man. It's just risk. I don't care. I tell people all the time, if someone asks me, hey, how much money can I make trading the stock market? It's not the right answer. All right, you can make as much as you want. It's totally up to you. But if you lose all of it, then you have no money to trade. And that's very possible.
Blake always talks about that. He goes, the one thing you can manage is a risk.
That's it.
Yeah, that's it. So yeah, how long have you been doing this now, Jeremy? Well, God, we talked about Apple. How long has this room been open, or your service? How long have you had?
Almost 4 years. So I've been totally by myself, 100% for about 4 years now. Okay. I quit my job at the insurance company when I was 24, so I'll be 30 in May. So I've been out of the whole corporate world for about 6 years now.
Yeah. What kind of insurance were you selling? Everything? Or annuity?
So I actually didn't sell the insurance. I was the back end guy.
Okay,
so
you back office.
So someone got in an accident. I was the welcome to Nationwide. Thanks for calling. How can I help you? You got another end of the phone.
You know what, Jeremy? I'm going to have to thank Mandy for what a great recommendation she made to have me contact you. I'm glad I reached out. Thanks for reaching back. You want to just show your website one more time and the best way for people to follow you? I thought, I encourage people to follow Jeremy. Everything I heard from him, I've conducted, Jeremy, almost 1,000 interviews over the last 4 or 5 years. And after a certain period of time, I can tell if someone knows. And and I could tell what a great story from, I was actually talking to my wife about it. I said, parents need to encourage their kids to pursue what they love instead of just doing something for the money that they really hate. And, so you had a love for these markets as a young kid, and you ended up, as an adult, from begging your dad to buy Apple shares to passing on knowledge to others, which is a very noble thing to do to help people avoid the landmines that they stepped on. So, like it or not, Jeremy, you're now my trading warrior brother.
Hey, no, I like that. That's a huge compliment. I do want to just simply say, every single March, I dedicate my entire company to teaching kids how the stock market works. And I do it for free. I go to schools all across the country, and so if there's any parents that are listening,
where high school? What level?
Anything from kindergarten to college. I've done all of it.
Goodness, you gotta just give me a quick. Tell me the funniest thing that's happened teaching kindergarten, because I student taught for about 3 hours first graders and knew I couldn't be a teacher after doing that. So tell me one funny story from teaching kids in kindergarten. All right.
I will. So, because it's difficult to describe, to a very young child what the stock market is and how it works. And so obviously I dumb it down, right? I don't talk about derivatives, to kindergarten. I tiptoe in.
Okay.
What ended up happening is this little cute girl was like, so like after I went through and I was discussing, I read them a book. That was the first thing I did. I was a celebrity reader for that school, and so I just read them a book.
Okay.
And so she's like, what do you do? And I said, well, I have a YouTube channel, and I do finances for adults on my YouTube channel. And the whole room's quiet for like 3 seconds. She goes, "What are finances?" And I was like, all right, how do I describe to a 6-year-old what
No
finances?
wonder children are happy.
That's right.
About it yet. Okay, go ahead.
No, and that was it. It was just they were all smiling, and then and I had my webcam on, and they saw my dog walk into the room as I was discussing what finances are, and then all the kids started screaming "puppy," and so I ended up just picking up the dog and playing with the dog for 20 minutes rather than talking about finances, because that's really what they cared about. So,
well, you know, I'll get in a room of people and say, "Who loves dogs more than people? Raise your hand."
Yeah, exactly. And you'll get a lot of raised hands.
So, Jeremy, really great meeting you, and
Thank you,
I hope this helps you out. That you know this video, that we get lots of views for you, and Jeremy sounds like a great teacher and trades markets that we don't at F.A.C.E. So, thank you again for your time, buddy.
Yeah, thank you, Dale.
Yeah.
Thank you, man. Everyone have a great rest of your day. Thanks so much for the invite, and have a fantastic time in California, Dale. You rock, buddy. We'll chat again soon.
All right, Jeremy.
All
Okay,
right.
everyone, that was Jeremy Newsome. You can follow him on Twitter at Newsome's Nuggets. So that's our turnaround Tuesday for today. Good hunting. I'll see you in the private chat maybe later. You're welcome, Kareem. Glad you enjoyed it. I had a great time talking to Jeremy. So always good to laugh during the day, guys. It's not just, don't take every trade as life or death. Enjoy your life. So above all, as a trader, don't just count your pips, count your blessings. See everyone tomorrow. Adios.